Guys, I'm kind of playing storm chaser right now. There's like an imminent thunderstorm of tornado hurricane Harvey death, so we're gonna try to get this video done pretty quick. 2010 Camaro V6 manual. This is gonna be a buyer's guide video. First, you got to decide, is the car going to work for you? Just like my V6 Firebird video, you got to decide if this car is going to fit your lifestyle. Now, this car does have some advantages over the 4th gen Firebird. First off, the front seats much bigger, much more comfortable, a lot more room, much easier to get in and out of. If you're older or have joint pain, back pain, whatever, you're much better off with a car like this versus an older F-body. Now, the back seats are virtually unusable in this car. The 4th gens, you can kind of get away with putting people back there if you have to. 5th gens, not so much. There's really no room back there. It really is just a cargo bench. But move on to the trunk. It's the trunk itself, you know, fits weed whackers. It's decently sizable, but man, the opening is like really tiny, kind of awkward. Can't really fit big stuff in. While it might fit in there, it might not be able to get in there, you know what I mean? So that's one thing to consider. If you got to haul out of stuff, this might not work for you. But let's move on to the powertrain. So we're talking buyer's guide. You're thinking about buying a 5th gen Camaro. You have two options. Well, technically three. So you got a 3.6 V6. This is a 2010, so this is the LLT. 2012 to 2015 got the LFX, which is very, very similar. So pretty good engine, pretty reliable, makes decent power. You really got to rev it out to get the power. Thermostat is very, very inconveniently placed. Not a fan of that. I would have made a video on that, but it would have just been me cursing the entire time, so it wasn't really worth it. Other than the thermostat, pretty solid little engine, and it's given us pretty much no trouble besides the thermostat. Gas mileage is quite impressive on the highway. I'm pulling about 30 miles a gallon because as of right now, I am daily driving this car. I drive this car about 100 miles a day, and it's returning quite impressive fuel economy numbers on regular gas. This one is a manual. It is an Eisen AY6 manual. Unfortunately, not a Tremec. It's not great, okay? It's not really well set up for this car. I wish it was a Tremec. The shifting of it, it feels pretty good. Like it shifts between gears nice and smoothly, and this one's got 111,000 miles on it. Goes between all 6 gears very nicely, but it's just the ratios are very odd, and the throttle calibration just does not feel right. It rev hangs very, very badly. Something to keep in mind. But if you're thinking about buying one of these cars, definitely opt for the Boston stereo like this car has. The stereo freaking rocks. The stereo goes pretty hard. And this is a 2010. This car's 11 years old, and it's got 112,000 miles on it now. Stereo's all original, and man, it bumps. So stereo, definite win. Definitely go for the Boston if you can. As you can see, this car's got the just the basic head unit. The later cars, I believe starting in 2012, they got the touchscreen optional. So if you're into that, you can do that. This car does have Bluetooth for your phone. You can do phone calls, but you can't do like audio. So you can't do audio through the Bluetooth, like music and stuff, but you can do phone calls. Personally, I just use this here aux cord, plug it into the console, works just fine. Gauges, pretty much the same for all Camaros. Something to remember, this temperature gauge is not accurate at all, okay? You're gonna have to go into the digital readout, which I'll make a different video on that. That's kind of like a tips and tricks video. But you use this menu button here and you scroll through it using this, and it'll come up with a digital readout there. Definitely something you need to know if you have a 5th gen, because this gauge is worthless. It does not tell you any useful information. But yeah, I'm 6'1", and I'm on the heavier side, and I fit in here great. Headroom with the sunroof. This is a sunroof car. Headroom is a little snug. My hair, you know, I kind of got tall, wavy, you know, beautiful hair. It rubs on the headliner sometimes, so I find myself kind of slouching to avoid that because it's kind of annoying. But my physical head does not touch. My dad's a little taller than I am, and he still fits in here just fine. Legroom is beautiful in this car, much more spacious than of F-body. Lots of leg room, lots of shoulder room. Seats are very comfortable, even though I have a larger frame. Visibility, you can see here, the B pillars are very thick. But as long as you get used to it, which you will if you're in this car a lot, you drive it, you get used to it, and the visibility, it's not that big of a deal. You learn how to use your mirrors, you learn how to use all 3 of your mirrors, very important in this car. But once you do that, it's really not a big deal. So I wouldn't shy away from these cars because of the visibility is so bad. It's really not that bad, okay? You'll live. But you got 2 cup holders. Of course, GM, they like to put them right behind the manual shifter. So they're pretty much useless for cup holders, but they work well for COVID-19 masks. But something to consider is manual, automatic. The automatic's probably the better option for the V6, just because the Eisen's just kind of you know. The automatics are pretty solid, the 6-speed automatics. Eisen's are With the Super Sport, you get an LS3 or an L99. If you got an automatic, you get the L99 with active fuel management. I'd avoid that if you can. Definitely go for a manual LS3. That's the way to go, I'm telling you. But yeah, 5th gen Camaro. We can go over some other stuff. You get 4-wheel disc brakes, you know, basic stuff, ABS, traction control, all that. If you get a manual V6, you do actually get a limited slip diff. The automatic V6 have open diffs. Something that's kind of interesting over the F-bodies that I'm used to is your clutch master cylinder and your brake master cylinder share the same reservoir of brake fluid. Whereas in all the other F-bodies I'm used to, it's 2 separate cylinders or 2 separate reservoirs. In this car, it's integrated into one. So I don't really like that, because if you bleed one, I think you kind of got to bleed both. So that's kind of a pain. S197 Mustangs have a very similar setup, so I'm assuming they just do that for cost. But overall build quality is pretty good. Pretty good. If you're worried about, you know, hey, it's a GM and maybe it's not built very well, these cars are built very well. This car's 112,000 miles on it, and you wouldn't tell it by looking at it. Really, really built nicely. And this has been a northern car its whole life. Always in Michigan. So we got crappy roads, we got winter, we got salt, we got all kinds of fun stuff. And this car's taking it all very well. So yeah, I mean, any questions, comments, put them down in the description. Or not the description, the comments section. You guys know what I'm talking about. So feel free to put them down in there. I think I'm gonna cut this video short here. I'm getting rained on now as a tornado Hurricane Harvey comes in. But yeah, I mean, these cars handle fantastic. This one has the 19-inch wheels because it's an LT. It's a 1LT. There's various trim options: LS, LT, RS, SS. There's an SSRS. The RS, essentially, you just get the, you know, halo headlights, fancier wheels, a spoiler, leather seats, that kind of thing. I really wish this car had the halo headlights. This one's just got the basic ones. I put LED bulbs in, so that helped a little bit, but definitely get the halos if you can, because those are awesome. But yeah, that about does it. Any questions, put them in there. If you're in the market for buying one of these things, you know, they're pretty trustworthy little cars. I was kind of skeptical of it, because I didn't know a whole lot about the 3.6 before I started messing with it. But you know, the more I drive it, the more I play with it, the more I'm like, hey, this thing ain't so bad. So you know what, I'll show you guys the temperature trick right now, since I gotta roll the windows up anyway. So when you're in here, you're gonna hit menu, vehicle information menu, coolant temperature. See, that's the important, that's what you want right there, okay? That's what's accurate. But then you can scroll through there, oil life, tire pressure, unit, so you can like change it to kilometers. I think that's what that means. Speed warning, you know, definitely leave that off. Battery voltage, and then at coolant temperature, you cycle through again. You go menu again, trip fuel information, digital speedometer. I really like using this on this car because the speedometer, it's, for whatever reason, it's just like kind of compact, so I don't really like looking at that. I like the digital readout. Go through there, you got your trip meter. As you can see, I have not reset that in 6,000 miles. Trip to, ooh, 10,000 miles on that one. Look at that. Fuel range, average fuel economy. Look at that, 27 miles a gallon. And that's not all highway. That's a pretty good mix of highway and city. and I'm still pulling 27 miles a gallon. Quite impressive. Vehicle speed, navigation. Not really sure what that does, to be honest with you. It might be connected to the OnStar, like if you bought the OnStar subscription, which only losers do that. But yeah, that about does it. Stereo rocks. HVAC is honestly pretty sweet. Gauge setup's nice looking, you know, that coolant temperature gauge, don't listen to it. But yeah, as far as the buyer's guide goes, that's about it. You got to decide if it's going to work for you. If you're used to V8s, you're probably not going to like the V6 because you really got to rev it out. So you see how the tachometer goes to about 8,000 RPM? Well, you can use about 7,500 of that. And to really get the power out of this engine, you have to use all 7,500 of that. It's really a rev-happy engine, and it likes to be beat on. The transmission, on the other hand, not so much. So it's kind of like not a very good match, but I make it work. You can see tornado's coming in now. But yeah, I mean, I'm very comfortable in it. I daily drive this car, drive it every day, spend about 3 hours a day in it, and it's great. Steering feel is pretty good. Very tight turn-in. Very tight turn-in on these cars. You wouldn't think it, because it's kind of a larger car, for, you know, for a two-door sports car. A little bit heavy, too. It's about 3,900 pounds, if I remember correctly. But all that being said, turn-in's pretty good. Brakes, pretty strong. And this car's got pretty lame pads on it at the moment. They're pretty fried. But even then, still stops pretty hard. That's really all I got to say about it, you know. Some things I really don't like about it is the little fuel filler is on the passenger side. That gets really annoying because every other car I've ever had, it's always on the driver's side. So I don't like pulling up to the gas pump on the passenger side. That just feels backwards to me. But that's what you get. You win some, you lose some. But yeah, any questions? Put them in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe. And let's try to get to 1,000 subscribers. As of right now, we are at 606. So we got a ways to go. But we're going to get there someday. We've been running the channel for about 6 years. So on average, we're doing about 100 subscribers a year. It's pretty pathetic when you think about it. But this year has been pretty strong. We've gained quite a few subscribers this year. So let's keep it going. Hit 1,000. And then I don't really know how that changes for you. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, your life's probably going to be exactly the same. And my life will probably be exactly the same too. But it'd be really cool if we hit 1,000. So definitely bump it up. Share the video with your friends. Tell them Captain ThirdGen's awesome, even though I consider myself quite mediocre. 2010 Camaro. If you're buying one, go for it. They're fun. Surprisingly practical, minus the back seat and the weird shaped trunk. Good on gas though. And with the gas prices these days, that's kind of important, so definitely something to keep in mind. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.